Gloria Strode, and welcome to Straightforward. Today, I am on location with my awesome friend, the former sheriff, Sheriff John Darr, who is now deciding to leave government service and move over to corporate America and make millions of dollars. And it's a bittersweet day. How long have you been in public service?
Off and on. I have 30 years with the Muscogee County Sheriff's Office this past January. Started March 1 of 1988, and of course,
1988. So you were just a young kid.
I really was a young kid.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah, I was 21 when I started.
Oh, just really legal.
Office. Yes.
Just become legal. Okay.
And of course, and not trying to be funny, of course, everybody knows I took a 4-year break.
Right.
And had the good fortune, Sheriff Countryman allowed me the opportunity to come back for these 2 years to give me my full 30 years. I can't thank him enough. But yeah, it's been a long time. But when you speak to a lot of people in this line of work, it goes by a lot faster than you realize.
So you were just of the legal tender age of 21 when you started out on this journey.
Yes, ma'am.
And so what was the first position?
The first position back then, they called us jailers. Of course, it's correctional officers now, but I started as a jailer.
Oh, okay. So every role was always in law enforcement.
Oh, yes, ma'am.
Right.
Yes,
You didn't.
yes,
You were never like over in another unit and then
No,
just
ma'am.
came.
No,
So
ma'am.
this has been your whole life.
Sheriff's office, bro. Yeah, that's it.
Wow.
I told somebody it's kind of, I don't know if you call
The
it.
sheriff's office raised you.
Yes, ma'am. I mean,
literally, yes.
Before, I tell you, in all honesty, it was kind of funny because this is the only really job I've ever had.
Really?
I was going to Columbus College at the time, and started with applied with the sheriff's office. Got into it. Didn't plan on, like a lot of people in this.
Didn't plan on staying this long.
No, seriously, it wasn't. And then it happened to be as long as it has been. So,
Isn't that something? And so over the 30 years, I know there were a lot of great other mentors you had in law enforcement.
Oh, yes, ma'am.
So when you first came, who was the sheriff?
When I started in '88, Gene Hodge.
Oh, Gene Hodge.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, he's a very good friend of Chief Weatherington. Yeah, they were friends, and we worked the chief's campaign when he ran for mayor. So that's where I had my engagement with him. Okay, so you really came up in the old school.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, all right. And so you had a lot of things that you put in place, and I take great pride. I always want to brag on my friends that do great things. When we had our visit inside of the Muscogee County Jail, and you allowed that, and the veterans dorm, and then all of the motivational sayings in the dormitory, and the men were just so open. We didn't put everything on camera, but they were open and they wanted to share. And then we were able to go over into the GED dorm.
Yes, ma'am.
And I know from working at Andrew College, the GED test was more difficult because it had been revamped than some of the high school graduation tests. It had advanced calculus and things like that in the test. And so you had guys there that were studying, and I observed it in there with you, and then afterwards to learn from the chaplain that many of them had passed the test. I was impressed with that. And then being an old social worker, the fatherhood dorm. I mean, you really had a vision for that. And a lot of times with our young folks, they have kids young.
Yes, ma'am.
And they lack the skills, that they need to know how to parent. And so you had guests coming in, talking to them, and, so that was one of your babies.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So that's something you should be proud of.
Well, I appreciate it. It's the old adage, though, I think, that you hear people say sometimes in this line of work when it comes to correctional a setting, that you want to keep them as occupied as you can, keep their mind on other things besides, of course, unfortunately, such as the jail, causing problems within that facility. So, we took that to heart. We kind of wanted to have a mindset of community outreach, not only in the sheriff's office, but with it, I guess you could say within the facility of the jail, have as many programs to try to reach as many people as we could.
Mm-hmm.
I was never under the illusion that that every individual that went through those programs,
Mm-hmm.
that it was going to make a big impact. But we do know, and we saw it, that it did make an impact in a lot of people's lives. And you know, when you're able to change one person's trajectory in life, be it the male or female down
Mhm.
there, you have an opportunity, as we looked at it back then, as changing a generational
Absolutely.
family. So you know,
Yes.
sometimes, you know, unfortunately, in this line of work, and especially at the jail, you see generation after generation of some families,
Right.
unfortunately.
And that's the same thing on the
Oh, yes.
social work side of the house, because there are generational barriers.
Oh, yes, ma'am.
And it takes a lot to overcome that.
Yes, ma'am.
So if it's been the same thing 30 years before you were born and 30 years before your mother was born, and I mean, it's just hard to break that cycle. But again, I agree with you. If we can just get one, each one
Yeah.
reach one,
It
each
is.
one teach one.
I agree. That, and it's,
Right.
it's true. And if you do, it can make such a big impact for that family. And so we did take that approach, and I thought it was very successful.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I have someone that was a Facebook friend of mine that their child was there when we did that interview. And they reached out to me on social media and thanked me. And, you know, we don't know where that person is now, but the mother, just from the mother's perspective, that was a great thing, because often people only hear about the negative things when in the criminal justice system.
Yes, ma'am.
They never hear about the great programs and other resources. They just think that, you know, you feed them and you sleep them, and people are, you know, still not making good choices.
Yes,
but
ma'am.
you have a track record, and
Yes,
we
ma'am.
have it documented.
I appreciate it. Yes, ma'am.
No, we have it
Yes,
documented. Right. And so you were able to get the funding to get that done, and then just interior, you know, the things on the wall.
Oh,
We
yes,
had the
ma'am.
Army, the Navy, the
Oh,
Marines,
yes,
and
ma'am.
even though they were in the correctional facility, they still had that pride as veterans.
Well, yeah, you know, and they did. And I said the only thing that kind of was, when I look back at some, I think, you know, every once in a while, you didn't hear many negative things about the programs. Of course, and I always want to emphasize that even back then, you know, when I was in office, we didn't use taxpayer money.
Right.
Everybody has to remember that it was no taxpayers' money, so we were able to do a lot at no cost to the citizens of Muscogee County. But when it comes to the veterans dorm, you know, I think there was a little bit misunderstanding in it, and how we kind of looked at it is, you know, you have these individuals that, you know, of course, you know, had served our country in some capacity, and of course, you know, I come from a military family.
Yes.
My dad's retired military, so you know, I thought it was important to put something in place, and of course,
Right.
Georgia, Fort Benning. I mean,
Oh, exactly.
Of course, you know, we knew we'd have a lot of individuals, unfortunately, that would be coming through our facility. So, yeah, we thought it was important to put something in place for our veterans, to give them some, especially some of them struggles with, you know, different
PTSD, alcohol, self-medicating,
That's
and
right.
those
So we
things.
kind of, that was the two big ones we focused on, those two. And some individuals, give them an opportunity to do the paperwork to get some of the benefits that they might not have been getting at the time. So yeah, that was an important program. I thought it was very successful.
Exactly. Okay, well, what we're going to do now, go to our first sponsor, and we'll be right back. We'll be right back after word from some of our sponsors. Straightforward is brought to you by State Senator Ed Harbison, serving the citizens of Georgia's 15th Senatorial District and on the front lines for veterans every day. Progressive Funeral Home, family owned and operated since 1952. The George Ford legacy of high standards continues today in the compassionate and professional services provided, a touch of dignity for those who care. Progressive Funeral Home, 4235 St. Mary's Road, trusted by generations. The
The Columbus Memory Center, 7196 North Lake Drive, Suite A, Columbus. Dr. Jonathan Liss is a board-certified neurologist and sleep specialist committed to battling Alzheimer's by preserving independence, offering you the opportunity to get your memory number for free, the only vital sign for brain health. Call today at 706-327-4000 or visit columbusmemorycenter.com.
And welcome back to Straightforward. I'm continuing this conversation, a bittersweet conversation with my awesome friend, the former sheriff, John Darr. Wow, 21, you came, bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, trained by some of the best in law enforcement over 30 years.
Yes, ma'am.
So now you are a grandfather.
Yes, ma'am.
That's a big stretch, isn't it?
Oh, yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
From a college kid to a grandfather.
Yes,
yeah, but that's all in the blessing. That's a part of the journey. So when did you win? You ran for sheriff, and you.
Yes, ma'am. I left the sheriff's office in March of 2008 to run for sheriff. Was fortunate and blessed by God to and the citizens of Muscogee County to get elected.
Okay.
And took office in 2009, January 1, 2009, was fortunate enough to do 8 years as sheriff.
Okay, so you had 2 terms.
2 terms, yes, ma'am.
Right, okay, and so when you came in, at that time, the jail was under the oversight of the U.S. Department of Justice.
Yes, ma'am.
And you had some improvement plan things that had to be improved when you took over.
Yes, ma'am. And you know, as when you, of course, like anybody, you know, when you're running, you kind of have your little platform. And,
right.
and one of the things I knew that I wanted to, if I was fortunate enough to become sheriff and take office, was be real diligent and be real serious about trying to get the Muscogee County Sheriff's Office from the DOJ, Department of Justice oversight. And you know, with the individuals that we had in place, especially Major Collins down at the jail, he did a phenomenal job with the other individuals down there to get us in a position where we were basically completely almost out of the oversight of the DOJ when I left office.
So you had done all of those improvements.
Yes, ma'am.
They give you enough time to work on specific things, and you had great people in place to move that that forward.
Yes, ma'am, we did. And that was, and like I said, I kind of, you know, just to be honest, I really had thought that the previous administration, the previous sheriff, and that they had not had moved the bar where it needed to be. You know, and I was at that time I was a sergeant at the jail, so I was seeing it kind of firsthand.
Right.
When it came.
So you had a bird's eye view.
Oh yes, ma'am. Oh yes, ma'am. And kind of knew, you know, after, you know, kind of as I was running during the process of running for sheriff and then getting elected, and then, you know, for just a few months before taking office, kind of getting our game plan in place when I took office to kind of take care of the things we needed to take care of. So, yeah, it was a lot of hard work. I was very fortunate to be working with a lot of good individuals to basically
people that's committed.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
These are not jobs that you will get rich doing.
No, ma'am.
You really have to want to serve.
Oh, yes, ma'am.
And it takes a lot of personal sacrifice. And I always tell people that because, you know, I was a social worker. I worked at DFACS. I was dressed up and broke. Even having an office, had an office with a window and no money in my checking account, and would have to, before the end of the month, ask my spouse for money for gas to even go to the job. So, yeah, but whenever you're in service, you know, and usually with government, there's this mystery for me where some people think that the government workers just have all this money, making all this money. So I just couldn't imagine coming at age 21. And like you said, this has been your only line of work is corrections.
Yes, ma'am.
Right. So we are going to switch gears. What is it going to look like when you wake up and realize you're this corporate business person? Because I know you've been looking at different projects outside of the government world. So what is that going to feel like when you wake up and you're pretty much free? Because see, when you're in law enforcement, they could call you any time of day or night if it was a crisis. But when you go to corporate life, it's different.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So,
you know,
have you prepared yourself mentally for that?
No, not really. I don't think. No, not really. I mean, I always told individuals it was kind of like, when I was in office, for 8 years, and then, when I lost in that runoff, and then, for the 4-year break before I came back, I always kind of made a joke about it. It was kind of like you'd just taken a long vacation before you go back. So kind of think that's how it will be. You just kind of feel like you're going to be on a long vacation before you kind of take on the next challenge or whatever that is going to be for me. I got a couple of things I'd like to look into doing. Really going to focus on spending a lot of time with my family and doing a little bit.
Yeah, because 30 years of law enforcement, that's been a lot of holidays and
oh my gosh, yeah.
birthdays and other family celebrations by being with the jail and in other roles that you really, were working.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, so now you just are going to be a business and person, entrepreneur, and just kind of bomb around. Is that what I'm hearing? Are we expecting the beach life now?
No beach life.
Okay.
It just have a lot more opportunity and time to spend with the family. A lot of people, of course, that know me know that family's probably the most important thing to me.
So you're going to just try to make up some time. Okay. Now, I was just going to try to put in my request in case we had a beach house somewhere. And I know your kids come first and, and all of that.
You know how it is. I wish I had money because I got kids and grandkids. Of course, my kids are grown, but, that's
but when you
have all the money.
You have grandkids and you have a granddaughter. The one that always used to babysit you.
No, you got that right.
So you will never have money because your money is her money.
She sure thinks that.
No. She, even as a little girl, she was on that. She knew what her role was.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go to our break to our sponsors, and we'll be right back.
Yes, ma'am.
We'll be right back after word from some of our sponsors.
Apple Tax Services for the best in tax preparation. 7413 Whitesville Road, Columbus. Call for your appointment today at 706-243-2590 or 706-243-2595. And remember, an apple a day keeps the audits away. The Miley Agency, 4903 Armour Road. Gerald L. Miley and William Ripsinger have been providing comprehensive reviews and insuring families in Georgia and Alabama for more than 50 years. The Miley Agency will work non-stop to find you the best policy at the best price. You can rest assured that your information is secure, confidential, and protected. Call today at 706-996-2045.
And welcome back to Straightforward. I'm continuing this bittersweet conversation with my awesome friend, John Darr. Well, John, I know that this has been a journey from a young kid, 21, college student. Here we are 30 years later, granddad, which is truly a blessing. But I have observed what you do, how you treat people. And I learned later, after I met you, that your father was retired military.
Yes, ma'am.
And had worked with my husband out at Fort Benning with robotics and man and unmanned and all of those things. Little did I know. But then that explained to me your work ethic and the way that you treated people and your professional code. So when you came to this career,
yes, ma'am,
as a young person, you were already trained up, Army strong. You were ready.
I believe I was.
Right.
I tell people, when I get an opportunity is, of course, like I said, I was real young when I started, but my daddy instilled to me and my brothers when it came to work. I don't think it would necessarily, we're going to say law enforcement,
right?
But I'm talking about just work, wherever that is in the corporate world, public safety, whatever. A couple of things, you come to work. When you're at work, show some initiative. Be productive when you're at work. Be professional. And when he talked about professionalism, and when I talk about professionalism, is how you look, how you wear your uniform, how you wear your clothes. Be it uniform, be pressed, be clean, your shoes be shined. Be professional in how you deal with your fellow co-workers in a professional manner.
Yes.
And super important, I think, in law enforcement, and I took this to heart, be very professional in who you're dealing with out in the public. And that could be out here as an everyday citizen in Muscogee County, or even the individuals inside the facility at the county jail. Yes, ma'am. It's paramount that I think that's how people should be in this line of work.
Right, and all of those things I applaud. And of course, I know, having been an Army brat, you woke up with a routine, which is a good thing, because that really prepared you, whether you knew it or not, for this career in law enforcement. And I think that's one of the things that I've always so admired about you. When we did the visit in the jail, there were two mothers outside. When we were leaving, you were walking me out, and one had a grandson that was inside, and you stopped and you took the time to have a conversation. You were not too rushed. Whatever she wanted to say, you were, yes, ma'am. Even with me. I mean, that speaks to the home training. No, because even if you have to make a tough decision, the way you treat people, really makes a difference. You were respectful. You didn't try to talk down. It wasn't, I'm the big boss, big eyes, a little U's. And I think that's what is so important that we pass on to young people, not just in law enforcement, but in all careers. Even if you at McDonald's, you got to be considerate of individuals and have respect.
Ms. Gloria, I agree with you 100%. I mean, of course, and of course, in this line of work, when you deal with individuals, a lot of it, sometimes, unfortunately, it is under negative circumstances. And so what you said a second ago, I truly believe that you have to take your time, be professional, be empathetic, sympathetic to what's going on with these individuals. But you at least got, like a lot of people, you just want to make sure that you give a sympathetic ear and some time. And I think that does go a long way. I truly believe it does go a long way.
Right, and just being respectful.
Yes, ma'am.
Because the one lady was an older white lady. I'll never forget it. And you were just so very patient and very kind. And then when you walked away and went back in, and of course she engaged me and someone else I knew in the parking lot. And that made a difference. It didn't change that her grandson was in there. But she walked away feeling heard and feeling that you felt that her grandchild was still worthy. And as I tell people, the road in life is long. You have to really be careful.
Oh, yes, ma'am.
And so you never know where you might encounter that person. So people in law enforcement, be nice, because if you end up at the hospital one day, you never know who's doing your food. No, who might have to come in and change your bed.
Well, it's true.
Yeah, that's the road in life. You never know where you're going to run into people. And, that's why everything is so important. As what? The golden rule, do unto others as you would have them do unto you.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
So this next adventure, your family, they made a big sacrifice. And of course, your wife, you've been married a long time.
Yes, ma'am.
And so is she going to retire? She's going to take her time, or she's going to go live the beach life too? I'm suspicious of that. Now, I'm going to be watching that.
I can't do the beach life. No, yeah, she'll be retiring too. We're blessed by God that we're in a position that we have we'll be in the situation where we can retire and spend time with the family. Like I said, that's really important for me, but also for her.
Right.
Probably
especially as a mother and a grandmother. And so you have 2 daughters and a son.
No, I got 3 daughters and a son.
3.
And I got 4 kids and 4 grandkids.
4 grandkids, and we'll never have any money. How many girls besides the little one that I know is the boss of you?
Everybody. It's all girls. It seems like.
I have 3, 4 girls.
No, I got 3. Well, that's what. No, it's like I have 3 daughters and a son, and 3 granddaughters and 1 grandson.
Oh, okay. So it went to the next generation.
Yes,
okay. Well, then I guess we won't be doing the beach house. That means you're going to need all the money you can get for Disney World and all of those places that they want to go. And so when you're retired and Mrs. Darr, then you can take the grandchildren and go and do all that. And of course, you've earned that.
No,
you have earned that. And your service to the community, whenever called upon, there's never been anything that I asked you to do, which was in line with the law. I wouldn't ask you to break the law, but it was always a yes, because you were wanting to serve the people and for the common good. So before we run out of time, what are your parting words for the young professionals that might want to go into law enforcement?
Well, I'll say this. It's kind of like I said earlier, or just a little while ago. Come to work, be productive when you're at work, be professional how you look, and be professional in how you deal with the public and your coworkers. I mean, that
creates a good environment.
It's going to make a professional organization. I just kind of want to end by just saying, I was very fortunate. My time in the sheriff's office, I had an opportunity to work under a couple of sergeants, a couple of lieutenants that were, I think, had a big impact on, my time here at the sheriff's office. I can't thank them enough. So I was, and I was very fortunate that I worked for a lot of good individuals, and I can't even think of any supervisor I can say, that was just a bad supervisor. Of course, everybody knows there's some that are better than others. Right. And, I thank the citizens of Muscogee County to give me the opportunity to do the 2 terms I did. I can't thank them enough. I do. I count that as a blessing, and a good fortune to be able to serve the community that I live in. And of course, now, I've always, like anybody in this line of work, be it the military or this service, thank my family for supporting me this entire time.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, we thank you so much, and I will be watching to make sure that you don't get that secret beach house, because I'll find you. I promise.
Yes,
I will.
ma'am.
Well, thank you so much for doing
yes, ma'am,
this.
Miss Gloria.
All right. This has been straightforward. If you don't stand for something, you will fall for anything. Until next time, be blessed.
What up, world? What's up, Columbus? Be sure to tune in every Sunday, Straightforward with Gloria Strode, right here on NBC 38.